Hi everyone, and welcome back to Advancing with Watercolor. And yes, we're painting skies once again. Last week, if you remember, we explored the cumulus cloud, a dramatic cloud that comes off the foothills of Colorado and seems to suggest an oncoming storm. This week we'll be developing a tonal study along those lines and adding a foreground, a pathway, and a few other things. Have a look below, as there is a free PDF file for you to download that explains this painting in detail. Let's pick up our brushes and move over to the watercolor table. Anyway, we can play with it at this stage and see if we can shape a cloud shadow a little better. Okay, we're putting together our drawing for the tonal study. In the tonal study, you want to really use this as an opportunity to kind of practice our clouds, working wet into wet. I'm making a little bit of a change to the road. As I want it to feel like I'm closer to the ground, almost as though I'm, walking. So I'm making it a little wider as it comes forward and getting quite narrow towards the back. So there's a nice sort of focal energy in this light area as a minor element. We'll use a little bit of a cloud shadow in this as well. And some fencing, very minimal. And then we'll start to lay it out with color. Big part of this, of course, is the rising cumulus clouds that we see here, billowing, billowing, billowing. And notice we have a graded touch to the sky, like that. Clouds narrow and flatten out as they move to the horizon. There we go. Wow, quite impressive. And I think our first wash is going to be to the grass itself, and then we'll go to the sky, and then we'll go to the mountains. So to do this, I need a couple of brushes. I'm going to use a couple of mops. This is my favorite mop for doing unpredictable marks. The other brushes are more predictable, but this one is so old that it just separates almost instantly and gives me some really unexpected marks. I like that. All right, so let's put out a little bit of fresh color. We're going to be using neutral tint because of its range. We don't really need super strong darks in this, but the contrast is very strong up above. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Like so. And then I'm going to bring my neutral tint over here. Working with neutral tint can be very deceptive because it dries so much lighter. All right, let's start by creating our path, or I'm sorry, the tall summer grass that we see here. Just starting with water. Dirty water. Going right over the path. And then I'll take a little smaller brush and start to introduce some of the color here. Look at how the color drifts down. Trying for sort of a graded application here. Even darker. Let's try a couple more stronger strokes through here. Here. Like that. To kind of get us started. All right, and while this is drying, we're going to start to work in the sky. I want to see if there's anything else I can add while the pigment is a little bit wet. That's pretty good. So the sky, what's our plan in the sky? The plan in the sky is to wet all of this, really, and come up to the top edge and start to build the sky around it. Let's wet all this and start to build out the cloud a little bit. The major cloud and the successive smaller clouds, and then we'll create the sky behind all of this. So we start with the big mop brush and just water. And we start to build that sort of rounded character that we see. All the way down to the horizon. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush, pick up some color. adding a little white to it so that it doesn't move too quickly. And I will spray this just to keep it wet a little longer. Then I'm going to start kind of creating the cloud. A little bit here and there. And I'm really just kind of watching my cloud rather than trying to emulate anything too perfectly from the image. And then we start to, this is basically doing what I want, which is giving me some of that character. I'm going to come now to the smaller clouds, which don't have a lot of white in them. They're kind of drifting away. We can put some white or leave some white, certainly. If we want. Skinny and fading a little bit as it moves to the horizon. Not as billowing as these forward clouds. Look at that, very powerful. Okay. Anything we need to do here? A little bit more connection. That's a little better. Right off of the slope. I can even bring it right down to the grass. Anything we want to do now, we should do it. I might add one more dark here. One more dark drifting along the bottom. It's hitting that wet area and it's going to just kind of slide down, go downhill. There we go. Ooh, that looks menacing. Okay, then we come up to our sky area and we simply paint that, with the strength of blue that we want. I'm aware that the blue is going to be darker up above, getting a little paler as it comes down. So I'm going to try and evoke that. Like to see what it looks like. Not too bad. So all this, I'm kind of judging this paint consistency. Add a little bit of white. And then we start to create the front of our cloud. That big towering, rising shape. Here we have a lot of control, so we can, that's a little careless of me because when we're doing this sort of thing, we really want to create some variety, right? We're repeating this rounded element. So let's work to create a little more variety. Better. Good. And I carry this a little lower here before I go back up. Like that. Then, well, let's take care of it. We don't want rough edges, little tattered edges, I mean, not too many. Yeah, like that. Quite good through here. Let's carry it down. We're getting a little lighter as we come down. Shaping these clouds as well. Even paler. Here. When we move to color, a lot will be communicated. Look at that cloud. Bravo. Okay, now we paint some of the dark mountains behind. For example, the mountain that kind of comes here. A little dark, but soft edge. Same here. A little flatter. That's pretty good. All right, and our grass has gotten a little too pale, so I'm going to return to that and wet it again. Just want it to be a little darker through the foreground here. I'll take my big brush. Plenty of paint. That. Almost like a cloud shadow. So far, so good. Now we need to put the road through here, or the pathway. I feel like that cloud's underside needs to be slightly darker, which is a tricky move. We can do it. Probably best to let it dry completely. Success. Let's try this then. Maybe we can just do it with a So there's more than one way to do that sort of adjustment. Here I used a spray bottle. I have to be a little careful. Put one more dark over here. Some trees, distant trees. Now let's do our path. We want it on dry paper. And I'm going to take a soft brush and carry it across here so that it's somewhat blurred. Hmm. Got a little fussy. Okay, if I make slight adjustment with a little white, this is how we can kind of maybe see what we want to see. Anyway, we can play with it at this stage and see. We can shape a cloud shadow a little better. So this is going to be okay. I just want to add a few more definitive darks to this sort of intermediary mountains or ridges.